So hi, my name is Alfonso Lopez, and my topic is about low-income children. So I'm gonna start with a question for all of you. How many of you guys have ever either knew a family member or friend that was going through a really bad financial crisis? Yeah, well, me too. My purpose of this video is to bring awareness on the issue of how low-income children, how they are designed to, they have a bunch of barriers that will keep them away from achieving the American dream. So what I'll be covering today, my overview is how the existence of the word gap, how poverty is learned in our families, and how our school system really fails us to teach about money. So my first main point is about what is the word gap. So basically what the word gap is, so according to Lahi in 2014, from Poor Kids and the Word Gap, she wrote an article about a study how they saw different children and from different economic status. So basically they were measuring how many words they heard per hour. So on average, a child from a professional background, he heard about 2,153 words per hour, as opposed to a child on welfare, he heard about 616. And when I was doing my research about this topic, kind of really resonated with me, because I attended a private school for my first 2 years of my K-12 education, and I was really behind my reading and writing level compared to my peers. So they would kind of pull me aside out of class and try to reach me. I didn't really know why was the reason. This is kind of like a small aspect, I guess, and how it really did it was a big impact. Because my parents always worked 2 jobs, and it was really hard for them to always be around me. I grew up with my grandma, so it was kind of really hard to just my grandma did her own thing in her room, and I was always in the living room by myself. So yeah, it's just how the word gap really is a big issue before you even start school. So my next point is about how poverty is in our family. So kind of making that connective, how really before you even start school, families really don't make the best decisions for their children. So according to Greenberg in 2014, having a kid is a leading trigger for poverty. He says that how if you have a children with no financial stability, really in your younger adult age, it's a really big factor how the children will grow up. Either he has a good education, if he's gonna go out on the streets, and he's gonna do drugs, it's a really big factor. So really, relate this to my dad. He had me when he was 22 years old, so his expenses jumped really high, and it forced him to work 2 jobs. And he kind of told me that he heard the terms he heard the saying how the child is really expensive, but he didn't know how expensive it was until he actually had one. So kind of like I said, how making the same decision, that decision really affected the next generation, and how my grandfather didn't really teach anything about finances or how to manage his money, and kind of didn't prevent those issues. So kind of my next main point, it's really hard, for children, and their families, and I think they should really teach students how to do finance in the school, but in reality, our school system is really failing us. So going through my K-12 education, I learned how to balance a checkbook, I didn't know how to make a budget, how to manage my expenses. So that's what I seen about how they really teach us anything based on my experience about finances. So according to Hess, he kind of did a study on why lottery winners go broke. So most of these lottery winners, he said that they spend all their money in a matter of a few years. Why? Kind of his conclusion why is because they weren't taught how to manage their expenses when they were in school or in their families. And also a study done by Brooks and White in 2017, why do so many pros go broke? It's because his conclusion was also they come from poor families. 72% of NFL players, they go broke, or they go bankrupt, or they go through financial stress after 2 years of retirement. And kind of his conclusion is why, because they come from poor families, they weren't really taught how to manage your life, how to manage that great, a lot of income, and their careers are really short, so they get a lot of money and they think they get really high expenses, and they just keep spending money without even knowing how to save up or how to invest it. So yeah, kind of to recap, we live in the wealthiest nation, but yeah, there's millions of Americans and children living in poverty. So kind of like explain this issue why it's because of the word gap, how it starts before they're even, before they even start school. They having a disadvantage in their ability to read and write. Also how poverty is learned in our families, how our families don't really teach us about finances. And how our schools also, they don't teach us, I didn't learn about anything, how to make a budget or anything until my freshman year in college. So really kind of like, again, my purpose was to bring awareness to this issue, how anyone can make good decisions, just a matter of really guidance and mentorship. So kind of like looking at this poverty issue, how like children really are affected by this, and because of the choices their parents made. So kind of like this quote really explains that, how poverty is like a punishment for a crime didn't commit, by Eli Camus. Thank you.